William Beavers is excused. Tara George.
Here.
David Simmons is excused. Margaret Wilson is excused. Ray Baker. Rebecca Danino.
Here.
John Farquhar. Here. Jim McCready. Mark Souza may come in later. He's on a call, I believe.
Jim's on the call too.
Okay. Margaret Houghton. David Brennan. Ken Kurt.
Here.
Carl Turner.
Here.
Ken Chakowski.
Here.
Thomas Pasquarelli.
Here.
Aaron Robinson. Michael Schwartz.
Here.
Anthony Agresta. Sid Chase.
Here.
Tim Foster. Victor Jones.
Here.
Beth McGowan is here. Damon West.
Here.
Dan Bixby.
Here.
Owen Hahn.
Here.
Howard is excused. Judith Tiffany.
Here.
Peter Nichols. Lou Jones. We have a quorum, sir.
All right. Everyone should have received the minutes from January 16th meeting. Any questions?
There's one
Addition.
correction of a date.
Which date?
And the bottom of page 4.
All in favor of the amended?
Did we get a motion?
Oh, we need a motion, you're right.
Sure.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank
Who
you.
was the first?
Tara. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Introduction of guests. Justin Smith from the Sheriff's Office. Josh Gusty from Nathan Latour. Our friend Alex from the great state of New York. And that's it. Correspondence will be with the minutes. If there's any questions, by all means, reach out to Beth. Chairman's report. I'll kind of pony some of this up with Tim in the PA report, but a bunch of us from both Ames and Remo got together for the retreat. It was actually very educational. We spent the entire day discussing things that we think as councils we should be doing better, or doing it all, and what mainly our purpose is going to be as councils moving forward with, with everything that's going on in the state. So I know Tim will probably address some of that in the PA report, but it was really, really great. It was great to see the participation that we had in the room. I think there was 9 or 16 of us?
It's
7?
about 50-50, yeah.
7 and 7, I think.
Yeah, and then Lee Burns was our moderator, and it was, like I said, it was a great experience. EMS Memorial is going to be on May 20th. That's a Tuesday at the Empire State Plaza. And with that, we'll move right into Tim's report.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Beth, I have several
I'm sorry, can you
disciplinary...
come closer to a mic?
Sure.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Should I do the disciplinary actions, Beth, or are you gonna touch on them?
No, go ahead.
I'll start with 3 disciplinary actions. One was released January 6th. Lindale Brunson, Elmont, New York State EMT number 165731, was subject to 3 years of probation effective January 6, 25, and assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 800. Part 800.03 AN and Part 800.15B. This was released on January 13, 25, Empress Ambulance, Yonkers, New York. New York State Agency Code 5930 was assessed a civil penalty of $20,000 for multiple violations of Part 800. If I read them all, I'd be here another 10 minutes. January 17th, 25, Ariana Mortensen, Albany, New York State EMT number 449785, had her certification revoked effective January 17th, 25. The revocation is stayed pending successful completion of a paramedic refresher. and she'll also need to complete a 3-year probationary period post-refresher. In addition, she was assessed a civil penalty of $2,000, which was stayed for multiple violations of Part 800. Tom mentioned strategic planning retreat. It was a great day. It was held on February 12th at Dwaynesburg Ambulance. Like I said, it was 50-50, 7 and 7 or 8 and 8 from both regions. Topics included updated mission and vision statements for the regions, short and long-term planning objectives. We also did a SWOT analysis, which we discussed the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities and threats available to us. The group consensus was that it was a productive day, and somewhere down the road, date to be announced, we're going to hold a joint REMSCO meeting to present and discuss the findings. Next Remo REMSCO meeting, I sent an invite out today, or I resent it today, is this coming Monday the 24th at 6 p.m. The link is also posted on the website. State meetings, CMAC and SEMSCO are next week. The next joint Remo-REMAC meeting is Wednesday, April 2nd at 2 p.m. Okay, moving on, program agency contracts, crickets. Ryan Greenberg says the contracts are under review somewhere above the Bureau, but there is no concrete release date for that. The good news is the REMSCO contracts are forthcoming. BLS modalities for the Aarons region. St. Johnsville Ambulance went with BLS 12 lead. 1 EPCR change, Town of Glen Volunteer Fire went with New York State Image Trend. And 6 new providers for the region. Ryan Hunt, well, six providers, put it that way. Ryan Hunt, paramedic, he added Otsego County EMS to his duties. Gary Hayes was a paramedic, added Coble Skill Rescue. Owen McGivney, AMT, added Schoharie County EMS. Joshua Hollis, AMT, added Schoharie County. And 2 new medics, Lee Sweeney for Lake Valley and Alexandra Muller for Lake Valley. And the last thing I had wanted to mention is we held the awards banquet on January 29th. That was at Delmar Bethlehem EMS. It was a great night. The room was full, food was good, and I think everybody had a great time. And that concludes my report. Thanks.
Okay. Secretary's report,
I have nothing.
treasurer's report.
Our opening balance for our REMSCO savings was $4,154.75. Our deposit was 32 cents in interest for a closing balance of $4,155.07. Our REMSCO operating account started with $18,579.66 with expenses of $1,041.69 for a closing balance of $17,537.97. Our CO1 account started with $22,512.05. We had expenditures of $917.22 for a closing balance of $21,574.83. All bills are paid, and I can't say anything about vouchers because we haven't been able to put any into the state.
The only thing I'll add to the treasurer's report is we did receive our audit back, and that all looked to be in order. I reviewed it and signed it, and went back to them via DocuSign, I believe.
Okay, I'll get a copy of that.
Jack, myself, and Sid also reviewed all of the financial statements. Jack?
Everything was found to be in order.
With that being said, I'll take a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Sid? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? The regional program update we did. Training? We don't have anybody from training here. We'll move right into transportations and standards.
Montgomery County Emergency Medical Services on September 23rd, 2024. We received from Montgomery County EMS 2 hard copies and a redacted electronic copy of their application for a permanent CON for the Montgomery County EMS agency. They are currently operating under a municipal CON that expires August 31st, 2025. The application was found to be incomplete upon receipt, as it is missing 2 fitness and competencies and payment. Missing items were received and the application was sent to the CON committee for review on September 30th, 2024. The CON committee found multiple deficiencies with the application, and the list of deficiencies and application was returned to Montgomery County Sheriff's EMS on October 7th, 2024. The amended application was received November 17th, 2024, and sent to the CON committee on November 27th, 2024. On December 19th, 2024, the application was deemed to be complete by the council, and a request for fitness and competency was requested from New York State Department of Health, Division of EMS, on December 20th, 2024. Fitness and competency was received back from the Bureau on December 31st, 2024. The public hearing was held on Thursday, January 23rd at 6 o'clock at the Town of Mohawk Fire Department, 2645 New York 30A, Fonda, New York, with stenographic recording in place. Publication of the required legal notices had been taken in the Gloversville Leader Herald, the Daily Gazette Schenectady, and the Oneonta Star for the 2 weeks leading up to the public hearing, as per established regional policy for such places of publication. A certified mailing with return receipt requested was sent on January 7th, 2025 to all ambulance agencies and all municipalities in Montgomery County advising of this hearing. At the public hearing, there were 5 speakers in favor of the finding of public need. There were 4 letters received in support of the CON application. The findings of the public hearing officer the conclusion was the Montgomery County Emergency Medical Services has been in operation since September of 2023. It has worked in coordination with the existing EMS and fire services to significantly improve response times to calls for medical assistance and transportation throughout its mainly rural geography. The applicant, based on its application to the REMSCO, has proven need as defined in DOH Policy Statement 0606. Specifically, there is a, quote, demonstrated absence, reduced availability, or an inadequate level of care, end quote, and there is a, quote, strong presumption in favor of approving the application, end quote, as cited in Article 30, Section 3008.7-B. Further, there appears to be widespread support for Montgomery County Emergency Medical Services application for the conversion to a permanent ambulance operating authority. Therefore, it is my opinion that the applicant has demonstrated need for permanent operating authority. It is my recommendation to the REMSCO that the Montgomery County Emergency Medical Services Ambulance Service be granted ambulance operating authority in accordance with the New York State Public Health Law, Article 30. Respectfully submitted, Lee Burns. I'd like to make a motion. Resolve that the public need has been shown to exist for Montgomery County EMS to obtain a permanent certificate of need to operate their ambulance service within the service primary operating territory, being the entire county of Montgomery municipal boundaries.
Second.
Who was that, Victor? At this point, we have to cover the conflict of interest. Any member of this council who has an apparent conflict of interest must declare the nature and extent of his or her interest prior to discussion, and if so directed by the council, abstain from voting. A conflict of interest is a member who has a financial interest in a competing service, and those who serve as an officer in an organization deemed to be in direct competition with the applicant. The acceptance of statements of conflict of interest will be the first item of business in the discussion of the CON. Is there anyone who needs to declare an apparent conflict of interest?
Can I just hide that? I just have to disclose that I work for Montgomery County,
And you are what position?
dispatch.
Anyone have a problem with that?
Discussion.
Any discussion? If not, this will be a roll call vote.
Hold on, I gotta find my roll call vote. It's in here someplace. I thought it was in here someplace. Oh, well, it's not there. Tara George,
Yes.
clarifying yes means you support the
Yes,
application and no means you do not. Rebecca Denino,
Yes.
John Farquhar,
Yes.
Kenneth Kurt,
Yes.
Carl Turner,
Yes.
Susie's here.
Kenneth Chakowski,
Yes.
Thomas Pasquarelli.
Yes.
Please let the record show that Mark Sousa has arrived. Michael Schwartz,
Yes.
Mark Sousa.
This for the vote?
This is for the
Yes.
vote, yep. Sorry. Sydney Chase,
Yes.
Victor Jones,
Yes.
Elizabeth McGowan is yes, Damon West,
Yes.
Dan Bixby,
Yes.
Owen Hahn,
Yeah.
Judith Tiffany.
Yes.
Sixteen yeses, no.
16 yeses, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions. Motion carries. We will submit that to DOH most likely tomorrow to get that process started.
The other item for transportation is standards, as that we have received a notice of closure for the town of Courtright ambulance service. The town of Courtright is one of the 3 municipal CONs that declared a muni CON in order to contract with Headwaters. Now that Headwaters has their own CON, the 3 townships are going to go through the closure process to relinquish, surrender, or expire their CONs. And we received the Town of Courtright closure plan on February 18th.
There really has to be no action with that. That's
It's just,
just
yeah,
informational.
informational. There's nothing we do with that.
A reminder that the awards committee, or all applications for any awards have to be submitted to the awards committee as they are due with the state on April 1st.
They're due to us April 1st so that we can have them to the state by July 1st.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. I didn't make it clear.
State council report, there is no state council report this month as it is the 27th and 28th. With that being said, I want to bring something up. For those of you who go to state council, which there's a few of us here, one of the things that we need to be careful of is spending all of our money. So if we don't spend it, we lose it. And we have not been expending what we need to as a council. Most regional councils are allowing their alternates a hotel room because the meetings start relatively early, and if anybody's going to drive, like for me, it's an hour, but if someone else needed to go, it could be an hour and a half, 2 hours. The room prices are about $125 a night is what the state pays, or what we would pay and get reimbursed. So it's about $1,000 a year as they meet quarterly. I would like to see a motion to allow the alternate, whoever it is, be able to book that room and stay there at the council meetings so that they can attend all of the meetings, because some of those meetings can go late into the night.
You making the motion?
I would like someone to make the motion. I don't want to make it as I'm
The alternate.
the alternate.
Who said they'd make it?
Ken?
Ken?
Can-
Second?
I'll second it.
Sid?
Sid?
Any discussion on that? All right, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? I'll abstain, as I'm currently the alternate. For those of you who don't know, the alternates generally sit on some form of a committee that, that reports to the REMSCO. That's where most of the motions, that's where all of the motions are made, is at a committee level. So whether it's finance, safety, whatever the case may be, the alternates are generally on those committees. And then the REMSCO members, obviously,
They all sit on two committees.
They all sit on two committees, so that's what makes the state go round and round. REMAC report?
REMAC met on February 5th via Zoom. The big items out of that are that there is a discussion of stroke pathways. They created a work group with neurology at AMC to review some other patients besides large vessel occlusion strokes that would benefit from transport to a comprehensive stroke center. Dr. Paul was appointed chair of the work group with members of the community hospitals and paramedics. Emails can be sent to Dr. Daly if you're interested in joining the work group. I do know that one paramedic who is in both regions, Cody Puglia, has asked to be on the work group. Town of Hancock has a new medical director, Dr. Kirill Davidoff, and the ARMS appointment of Margaret Wilson as the ARMS delegate to the REMAC was approved. In terms of turnaround documents, the tech cards for the end of the year. For Delaware County, I've received 4 of the 13 ALS agencies' tech documents. For Fulton, I've received 1 of the 3, and some of them are in progress, I'll be fair. For Hamilton County, 0 of 4. Montgomery County, 2 of 4. Otsego County, 5 of 11, and most of them I have spoken with and they're in progress. And Schoharie County, 1 of 2. If any of the county coordinators would like their lists, please come take them.
All right. County reports, Delaware,
Nothing.
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 Otsego,
Nothing new, we still have our 2 EMT original refreshers running and an AMT original.
Schoharie,
I was at the RTEC earlier this month, their meeting, and they were talking about the misform. I think it's Dr. Edwards. And some of the takeaway, because anyone not know what a misform is in the handoff for trauma, basically mechanism, injury, signs, and tubes.
Treatment.
And he wanted to add an A to this. And basically what was happening was when we do these handoffs within the trauma room, it gets very busy, very chaotic. And some of the numbers he brought in was like 50% of the information relayed is not remembered or retained by the staff. And then it goes into another slide where it shows about 46% of the time is because there's shit going on. I'm sorry, my language? Shoot. There's stuff going on where there's just motion, you have one physician doing one thing, it's just not paying attention to the report going on. And so what he's looking for is kind of do like more of a structured handoff. He was asking like to do like 60 seconds on the clock kind of idea, and where everyone's just motionless, silent in the room, and just the provider handing off care over, nothing's being moved, nothing being done, to help facilitate this communication transition. And then once you go through all that, 60 seconds, they can do their thing. Then you're supposed to go over to the charge nurse and give any of the extra you didn't talk about in that 60 seconds. So maybe make sure that she understood what meds are given or what stuff you did. Those are kind of the big takeaways from the meeting. He was also talking about the 3 communication problems that were happening. It seemed to be more on their end than ours, but one was they are just so busy in the ERs, they just don't have the human capacity to do anymore. So they're forgetting things, they're just in muscle memory. They're gonna be working on to correct that. The other one you mentioned was incompetence. So if by mistake, a provider says something silly like, the femur is broken and really it's the humerus, they will take that as incompetent and they will ignore you right off the rip. And the same thing goes the other way. If we give a handoff and they just ignore us and there's something really critical going on, we find them incompetent. So these are some of the communication problems that we're finding. And they're gonna work on this further to come up with a better solution to everything. To kind of take away from that entire meeting. It was kind of knowledgeable. If anyone did sit through it, it's cool.
And the video has been posted by Albany Medical Center
There you
about
go.
the use of the missed A form. A stands for additional.
Additional, sorry. Outside that, that's kind of all we got for today.
All right. Montgomery, if you got anything? Fulton?
We got the EMT classes going on right now, and we have a core class coming up this Saturday.
Hamilton?
Speculator EMT class, all 5 students have passed their written exams, and the class of 12 in Racket League will finish end of April.
All right. Old business, lights and sirens project.
I think that was tabled for a vote this time. They wanted to hand out the actual reading. It was Maggie wanted to read through it, and they were supposed to read through it. And
I've got about 10
vote.
copies here, so I'm going to send 2 down this way for sharing and the rest around that way.
I recall.
Thanks.
We were just submitting that as a guidance document.
I know that I brought up a concern about a word in it last time, and Howard did not wordsmith that before he sent it to me. I really struggle with the word violate, in that the use of red lights and sirens and not proceeding past traffic and safety devices is not a violation of New York State VNT law. They are authorized in New York State VNT law, section 1104. So I really have a big problem with the wording there, because it's trying to make us supersede New York State law.
Dan, do you want to make those corrections and bring it back, or get it to us so we can put it back out?
I'll give you my notes, Dan.
We can do that.
So we'll keep it on the table?
Keep it on the table.
Website,
Dan Bixby.
what kind of photos do you have?
One of the goals that I would like, and it's part of something that I've discussed with Tim and Kim at the office, is that next year for the awards banquet, we'd like to have a scrolling slideshow of all the different agencies. So send us, if you could, send me a picture of your crew and/or rigs, or crew and rigs together, no scenes, obviously. Just for patient, privacy. Please send me I'd like to get a picture from every single agency and have it to put into a slideshow. And if I start now, I might have it by the next awards banquet.
All right. New business. Beth has asked, the scanner, the document scanner that we use has failed us, and it needs to be replaced. It hasn't been replaced in years. So she is asking that we grant her permission to spend up to $500 on a new document scanner.
I make a motion.
Good.
Bill? Or,
Who was the second? Dan?
Dan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Thank you, everyone.
And the last thing that I have is the next area meeting is going to be on March 20th here, hopefully.
Please.
And if nobody else has any
Actually, I
other,
have one more.
Okay.
I usually don't talk for Howard, but he did reach out to me earlier this week. Paramedic refresher, June of 2025. If anyone needs one, it's a rapid refresher, practical test, and out the door you go. If you can give me the exact date, you just said June of 2025.
I'll get the information and include it.
Any other new business? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.